The Pokemon trading card game is no stranger to fancy gimmick cards, whether that be small EX, big EX, GX cards, and even back in the day in the XY era, break cards, which kind of were modular cards. You put them on top of an existing card to give it a new move, and kind of expanding on the break concept even further. In 2021, we saw the launch of V-Union cards. Now, we're kind of nearing the end of the Sword and Shield era. We're probably not going to see any more V-Union cards. But while we're here, and I'm in the process of doing a full Sword and Shield retrospective, some of the best cards, I thought we would take the time today to talk about the V-Union cards. And we'll look at all of them and then talk about what about the concept worked and what didn't, and potential hopes for the future. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about Pokemon V-Union. Also stick around at the end. I know scheduling stuff on the channel's been a little weird if you're watching this at the time of release. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. But let's start with Pokemon V-Union. How does this work? And the way it works is that V-Unions are a special type of Pokemon consisting of 4 pieces, as you can see here on my picture of the Pikachu V-Union. This is actually my photo. I did a Google search and this one came up from my website, inthirdperson.com. Anyway, there are 4 different pieces, and you cannot play the individual pieces on the board. You have to get all 4 cards into the discard pile before you can grab all 4 pieces and then put them in play onto your bench. And then you can bring them into the active and then do some really cool stuff. The general idea is, yes, it's really hard to get all 4 of these cards into the discard and then bring them onto the field and then put energy on them. But if you do, you get to unlock some really amazing moves that Pokemon normally don't have, or just super powered moves that Pokemon regularly don't have. In terms of HP, they were hovering around 300 to 320, so they weren't even the biggest VMAXs, but the number of moves they got and the types of moves they got were absolutely nuts. At the time of their release, V-Union cards did not perform very well in the meta. No one was playing them in tournaments or anything like that. And at the time of this recording, most people still aren't, right? Only one of them has really gotten any sort of success, and it's this one right here. And I think a big problem early on was that there weren't as many ways of discarding V-Union cards as there are now, even like a set or 2 later. Ultra Ball was not out at the time when V-Unions came out, and Ultra Ball is great, being able to discard 2 cards at a time. Among other things, Arceus made it a lot easier, among other things, to get them out. But even then, even as it got easier and easier to get V-Unions on the board, the only one that really made an impact from a competitive standpoint was Mewtwo V-Union. This card was crazy. 310 HP, not the most. Every V-Union has this attack right here called Union Gain. I'm sorry you can't see the text here. I'll zoom in a little bit. Union Gain for 1 energy. You get to take 2 energy from the discard pile, and I realize this isn't in English. We're gonna roll with it. You get to get 2 energy from the discard pile, put it onto your Mewtwo V-Union. It was a way of accelerating quickly, but you were going to take a big hit after. Not ideal. We have Psysplosion here on the bottom left corner for 2 psychic and a colorless. Drops 16 damage counters anywhere you want on the board. Amazing for getting multi-prize KOs on stuff on the bench, or taking out, 2 Sobbles and then some other stuff. Fantastic. And we also have Super Regeneration for 2 Psychic and a colorless. This was a big factor in many control variants of Mewtwo V-Union, where you would just tank hits over and over again. You would just heal yourself over and over and over again, because a lot of decks weren't really hitting north of 200 at the time, and you would just aim to stall your opponent out. Again, shout outs to Sander Wojcik for really bringing life to this card with his control variants and adding crazy healing and stuff like that to make this card almost invincible in a way, which is very cool. It also has a really cool ability, the Photon Barrier, where you would not get affected by the effects of your opponent's attacks. Just the other day, I was playing against this Mewtwo V-Union deck, and I tried to use Yveltal's Amazing Destruction. Didn't work at all. Instantly lost. Terrible. Don't do that. And its crazy move, Final Burn for 3 Psychic and a colorless, 300 damage straight up. Absolutely nuts. And it can be kind of a pain to get Mewtwo set up, but if you can get it set up, it is absolutely ridiculous. Whether you're playing a control variant, whether you're playing it with Arceus V-Star, lots of different ways to set up Mewtwo V-Union. Heck, you can even run Shadow Rider here, which is kind of cool as well. But Mewtwo V-Union ended up being pretty strong in the meta and the only one that really made it through. Zacian V-Union has the most HP of any V-Union that we've seen, and it also has Union Gain. Its moves were all right. It's got Dance of the Crown Sword for 150 damage, 2 metal and a colorless, and you also take 150 less damage. So you're doing a little less damage than Goodra, but you're also taking way less damage than Goodra. And even if you throw a Choice Belt on there, you're doing 180, take out a Crobat. Kind of interesting there. Steel Cut straight up, two metal and a colorless for 200. That's pretty good. And then Master Blade. This is, you're going to have to use this on as a finishing attack for a VMAX. You have to discard 3 energy from this Pokemon, but it does 340 damage, 1-hit KO on any Pokemon in the game. You definitely want to save this against VMAXs. Now, for a time, this was my favorite one to play. And I would run this with Zacian V and Duraludon VMAX and Bronzong to move the energy around wherever I needed it. It was a ton of fun to play. Unfortunately, Zacian V-Union is just not good enough, and there isn't really a good enough way to set this up at this point in time. Hopefully, these will still be competitive legal for at least another year. I hope that there's an opportunity for these other V-Union cards to shine. Pikachu V-Union was released as part of Pokemon Celebrations, and this one is a personal favorite of mine, mostly because of how it looks. Look, it's got a whole bunch of Pikachus from different Pikachu cards throughout the history of the Pokemon trading card game, and it has some interesting moves here. I don't think we ever got the full potential of this one, but it does have some cool stuff here, such as in the top right corner here, Shocking Shock, where you flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. In the current meta with Lugia V-Star, hit to 240 plus paralysis. Kind of interesting there. We've got Disconnect on the bottom left corner here for 2 lightning and a colorless, does 150 damage, and your opponent is item locked. So imagine like Vikavolt doing even more damage and item locking as well. And then we've got Electro Ball together, 2 lightning and a colorless for 250 damage. So in this Pikachu V-Union, you kind of have a combination of Zekrom with the paralysis and Vikavolt with the item lock, and then just a really strong attack in Electro Ball together. This one never really got off the ground. I think the control stuff just didn't quite work out as well at the time. Plus the fact that fighting Pokemon were really popular because everyone was trying to target Arceus around the Brilliant Stars time. I would love to find a way to make this card work, but we haven't really seen it so far, and that's okay. We'll just keep moving on. Greninja V-Union was the first one I ever bought, and this one was kind of cool. It has an ability, actually has a bunch of abilities here, where you can prevent all effects from item cards with Ninja Body. You can't poison this Greninja, which is kind of cool. And then I use the Feel the Way ability a lot, where you can see your opponent's cards. And it's got some interesting attacks, like Aqua Edge 130 for 1 water energy is not bad. It's got the Waterfall Bind, where you're doing 180 damage and your opponent can't retreat the next turn. But the big draw of this card was always Twister Shuriken, where you do 100 damage to all of your opponent's bench Pokemon. You could set up some really crazy combos here, taking out multiples in one go. There's probably some sort of combo here with the Earth and Steel Stone, get everyone down to 100, bring in the Greninja V-Union, and just wipe the entire board for a billion prizes. That would be really cool. The biggest problem with Greninja V-Union is that Manaphy exists, and one Manaphy can just destroy the entire game plan of this. I don't know really how you get around this other than multiple canceling colognes and boss's orders, and I don't know if it's worth the trouble, but being able to hit the combo to win on one attack and take 6+ prizes is pretty sick. Last but not least is Morpeko V-Union. This was the last one that came out, and it's got some interesting stuff. I did make a video on this one, Lost Zone Morpeko, that's a ton of fun to play. It's got the moves, all you can eat, lets you drop to 10 cards for only 2 colorless energy. It's got Electric Ball, 1 lightning, 2 colorless for 160 damage, But then it's also got Burst Wheel, where you discard all the energy and you do 100 damage for each energy card you discard. And this gives you 1-hit KO potential on anything in the game. Now, getting the attack off, and like, how do you, once you unload all your energy, how do you get it back on? Are you running some sort of crazy network of switches onto Flaffies to then attack again? I mean, you could do that. I personally played it with the Lost Zone in order to Mirage Gate on, so you didn't have to move the Morpeko. Regardless, it was kind of clunky, and I still don't think this is particularly strong. But it's an interesting one. Like all of them, they're all pretty interesting in their own way. And this one hasn't really found its way into the meta. Ton of fun to play, though. That being said, it is coming back in a alternate art. There is a upcoming Crown Zenith box with Morpeko and Marnie. Looks like this. I don't have the English art, unfortunately, here. But I will be picking up that box because I do have all of the V-Unions IRL, and I do want to complete the set, and maybe some point we'll cover all of these. I realize the only one I haven't made a video for is the best one, and there's a couple of ways we can go about it, so I'll have to add it to the list of videos is to cover more Mewtwo V-Union. Now that we are heading into the Scarlet and Violet era of the game, V-Union cards are probably done. I don't see them using the V sort of markings on any cards going forward, and I'm actually kind of sad about that. I know that V-Union cards haven't really made a dent in competitive play, but I think the concept is a lot of fun. It has a lot of potential, and I generally loathe the three prize Pokemon in the game, but I think for V-Unions it makes a lot of sense. I think the big problem with 3 prizers is that they make their game really short. You get big reward for not doing a lot, and I really like the idea of having to go on this whole other side quest to get your Gigaton attacker going that gives you these insane moves, but it doesn't necessarily have the biggest health or anything like that, so it kind of felt balanced in that way as well. I hope that maybe we see an EX Union or something like that. I don't know how you make that work in the future, but I think the concept is awesome. And if they were ever to go back to 3 prize Pokemon, which generally speaking I'm very much against, but if they do it in a way where it's kind of like how V-Unions work, I would be totally down for that. On that note, it is time for me to get at it. Actually, you know what? We have to talk about one thing before I go really quick, because the schedule of things you probably noticed if you're watching this as the video comes out. Last week, I only put out 2 videos. This week, I'm not sure if I got if I got 2 videos up. It might just be this one. And I just wanted to give you a heads up in case you missed the year-end one. So things starting to slow down here as it is crunch time for my wife and I. We are expecting a baby any day now. I think by the time you watch this, the baby might already be here, at which point I will probably be laying low for the next few days as I try and figure out how to be a dad and all of that type of stuff, sleep schedules, taking care of the baby and who's taking care of what. How do I find time to trying to find time to come back down here into my little cave here and making Pokemon videos and all that. I don't think I'm going away, but I do think that the output of 5 videos a week is unrealistic, and I'm gonna have to figure out what that looks like going forward. But I don't foresee myself going away entirely. At least that's what I say to myself right now. And hopefully we can keep the videos coming one way or another. All right, so just wanted to give you a heads up. And you know, every time I've mentioned that my wife and I are having a child, the comments that I have received have been absolutely astounding, and I appreciate the love that you have given us so much. And yeah, I'm just really, I think, really grateful for your support throughout this journey that my wife and I are on into parenthood. So I'm gonna go head out. I might be changing diapers somewhere in the back, or I might be in the hospital trying to not faint. I'm a little bit squeamish, but you know, it's part of the process. It's the miracle of life, and I cannot wait for our child to get here. Neither can my wife. We're so excited for that, and we really appreciate all of the kind words and the support you've given us along the way. All right, time to go. Like, actually, for realsies now. But you can follow me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at In Third Person. You can find me on Twitch at In Third Person, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, subject, you know, pending the baby and all that. I know I'm going to have to cancel at least one more because depending on how the timing works out, like, it's pretty much the baby will either just be here or is on their way out. So I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. But yeah. For the most part, Sundays, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we play the Pokemon TCG on Twitch. And check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this one and watching this. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll be getting out of here. Thank you so much. Let's go. Bye-bye.